Okay, then we'll get ready with the session. Last week, what we discussed was I told you um, most of the part of the trade, international trade, it revolves around UCP and URC. So without knowing UCP and URC, it's very difficult for you to be a trade practitioner. Those rules and articles you have to learn by heart, right? And between the lines, there are so many things which articles are not talking. So what I'm trying to do, I think this particular session I didn't do earlier for the last from 2012. I'm doing international trade classes, but uh, this year what I thought was better to discuss with you guys, right? Otherwise, I normally ask you to go through the UCP 600 and study, and UCP URC 522 and study, right? Uh, because we are not school children. But anyway, uh, I thought it's better to discuss. And if you have any issues, gray areas, please ask me, because it's the only situation, opportunity you are going to get. And then in our day-to-day operations also, when we are discussing these articles, you may remember certain things happened in your departments. So you can check with me and get more clarification on that, right? Uh, because the thing is, if you see the ICC opinions every day in this world, right? You will get at least 10 or 15 queries to ICC. So ICC the panel will go through it and then they publish the opinions. So just imagine how much of issues people are having, right? Some of the issues are very, when you see those issues, you can understand about their status of understanding, and mainly due to uh, this understanding and lack of training. For sake of asking questions, they are asking ICC and asking for certain opinions. Some are very good, right? So this is one of the reasons why I thought of discussing these articles with you. Up to Article 9, I have discussed. Now I'm going to start from Article 10. From Article 10. Article 10 is all about amendments, right? When it comes to amendments of an LC, amendment must be agreed to by the issuing bank, confirming bank, if any, and the beneficiary. When you issue the LC, that is also has to be agreed by the issuing bank, confirming bank, if any, and the beneficiary. Likewise, even the amendments has to be agreed to by the issuing bank, confirming bank, if any, and the beneficiary. Why we say if any? Not all the LCs are getting confirmed. Some are getting confirmed, right? So if the LC is getting confirmed, then if any. Right? Issuing bank, confirming bank, issuing bank or confirming bank is irrevocably bound as of time of issuance and advising of amendment. That is there in Article 7 and Article 8, right? Confirming bank, right? Confirming bank is Article 8 undertaking, right? When you are talking about issuing bank and the confirming bank's undertaking, they say the issuing bank or the confirming bank, the moment you issue the LC, the issuing bank, but the moment you confirm the LC, the confirming bank, right, is irrevocably bound. Likewise, the amendment, right? Confirming bank must inform issuing bank of election not to extend confirmation to an amendment and may advise beneficiary of amendment without its confirmation. This is a very funny situation, right? Okay, for example, if you open an LC for US dollars 1 million and we request a confirming bank to confirm the LC. The confirming bank, their bank, what do you call these limits of the issuing bank is up to 1 million. So within that limit, up to 1 million limit, they have confirmed the LC, right? They have confirmed the LC and they have advised LC to the beneficiary. So meanwhile, now their confirmation limits are full. Now their confirmation limits are full. Now you get a amendment. You get an amendment enhancing the LC value by another $500,000. If we add confirmation to that, then this might go above the limits, exceeding the limits, which we don't want to do. So the confirming bank has it is not obligatory to confirming bank. That is their wish, or what do you call this? Within their authority, right? If they like, they can add confirmation to the amendment. Otherwise, they can just advise a amendment to the beneficiary without adding confirmation. But they have to go back to the issuing bank and tell them, look, we have not added our confirmation to the amendment, right? But they can't keep silent. Any questions on that? Any questions on that? Now I talk about the limits. It's easy for you to understand. But if that amendment is leading to some unnecessary issues, if the confirming bank sees by adding confirmation to this amendment, right, we are unnecessarily getting dragged into some issues. Then they can say no. There's no obligation on their part, right? It is a prerogative of the confirming bank. Notification of acceptance or rejection received should be given by the second advising bank to the advising bank and the advising bank to the issuing bank. It has to go through the same path. Now, we have received the LC and LC was advised through a second advising bank. Now the beneficiary has received the LC through the second advising bank. So when we receive the amendments also, it has to go through the same path. Amendments will be advised to the first advising bank and then they will advise to the second advising bank, right? So the acceptance or rejection directions should also go through the same path, right? Another important point is partial acceptance. Right? Partial acceptance is similar to a notice of rejection. Now let's read the article, this particular sub-article. Article sub-article E, 10E. Partial acceptance of an amendment is not allowed and will be deemed to be notification of rejection of the amendment. Partial acceptance of an amendment is not allowed and will be deemed to be notification of rejection of the amendment. Is it clear? Now, if we have included 2-3 items in a same amendment, you can accept only item 1 and 3, but not the 2. You can't do like that. It comes there. It's similar to a notice of rejection. You have to reject the entire thing. Either you have to accept it in a as a whole or not at all. Right? Disregard any provision that the amendment shall be in force unless rejected by beneficiary within certain time. What do you mean by that? Disregard any provision that the amendment shall be in force unless rejected by the beneficiary within certain time. Article 10F. Article 10F. This is a new inclusion to UCP 600 from UCP 500. Right? A provision in an amendment to the effect that the amendment shall enter into force unless rejected by the beneficiary within a certain time shall be disregarded. So that means an amendment should not incorporate, amendments should not incorporate any clauses or any conditions that it implies that it will be automatically accepted or rejected in the event that the beneficiary does not provide a notification of acceptance or rejection within a specified period. Right? That is why I'm trying to discuss with you. When you read the Article 10F, it is only 3 lines, but there are so many interpretations you can discuss. Right? For example, amendment number 1, amount reduced by US dollars 100,000. And there's a condition in that amendment says, this amendment shall be in force unless rejected by beneficiary on or before 30th November 2007. Right? You can't put clauses like that. So we have to disregard those clauses. Right? A presentation that complies with the credit and not yet accepted. Amendment deemed to be beneficiary's acceptance of the amendment. Right? Presentation that complies with the credit and not yet accepted. Now we have sent certain amendments, but we haven't got a confirmation to say that the beneficiary has accepted the amendment. But when we are receiving the amendment, when we are receiving the presentation, we are receiving the presentation of documents, it deemed to be beneficiary's acceptance of the amendment. Right? Original LC, for example, original LC, 1st July 2007, US dollars 150,000. Shipment by 20th August, 20th August 2007. Then it says partial shipments allowed. Partial shipments allowed. Then we got an amendment on 4th July, amending the LC value reduced by 100,000. Reduced by 100,000. Shipped by 20th July 2007. The latest shipment date also changed. Earlier it was 20th August. Now it is 20th July. Right? Now we got documents. Right? Now what is the value of the LC? Now what is the value of the LC?
100,000.
100,000. Earlier it was 150,000. Now it is reduced to 100,000. Right? Now the documents what they have presented is documents US dollars 100,000. Okay? And they have shipped the goods on 20th July 2007. Is it a compliant presentation?
Yes.
Yes. It's a compliant presentation. Because it deemed the both parts have been accepted. Okay? But if yes, okay, right. Now let's talk about the Article 11. Article 11. Article 11 is teletransmitted and pre-advised credits and amendments. Earlier article was also UCP 500, also Article 11 A and C. But earlier UCP 500, this article was very powerful. But nowadays, very rarely we refer to this article, Article 11. Because the reason is most of the banks, it's a common practice now because of the technology, improvement in the technology. We are not doing pre-advice of LC. What do you mean by pre-advice of LC? Can somebody tell me? Please talk. Maybe class what do you mean by pre-advice of LC? Can somebody tell me pre-advice of LC? මේකටත් හොඳ background එකක් තියෙනවා. මම අහන ප්‍රශ්නෙට. In your tell me. Tell me.
The before advising they are sending a
Before advising the full LC, just to send a
Draft.
request.
Not a draft, notification. Notification, right? That we are going to open a LC by this bank for this amount from this date to this date, like that, right? And everything is there. Can you just hold on? Before we advise the LC, right? We send a pre-advice, not the details and everything. Okay, what are the documents needed? What few pre-advice LC? There is a format pre-advice. And according to that, I think MT 705, if I'm correct, MT 705, very few lines. But the full details and the full advice will have to send it immediately. This was a practice earlier. We used to send a lot of pre-advice LCs. In good old days, right? The majority of the LCs were mail LCs, not telex one. Mail LCs were much cheaper. So we send the pre-advice and then we type it and we'll post. We'll send it by courier, right? But nowadays, because of the technology, almost all the banks in the world, now they are encouraging people to open Swift messages. They're encouraging people to open Swift messages so that you can expedite the thing, right? ඒ වගේ එනකොට දැන් අපි හිතමු අපි හවස 4 මාට 5ට විතර දිග LC එකක් එනවා. pages 2ක 3ක LC එක. Normally we don't send, either we send or we don't send, right? Because we have a cut-off time. After 3 o'clock, if you have received the LC after 3 o'clock, we have told the customer, no, we will send it on the following day morning, right? If nothing, අපිට ගෙදර යන්න හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ. අන්තිම වෙනකන් එනවා. That is why we all are having cut-off times. But if this LC is very, very urgent, එහෙම වුණාම අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? අපිට ඕන මේ free advice එකක් කරලා මොකද මේ LC එක දැන් අද ඇරියේ නැත්තම් අද මේ LC එක ඇරියේ නැත්තම් ජපාන් වලින් ship මේ කායක ගෙන්න ගන්න බැරි වෙනවා මොකද අද ඉතින් LC එක ඇරලා තියෙන්න ඕන. ඒකයි reason එක. එතකොට අපි කරන්නේ free advice එක කරලා ඔය වෙලද හරි. හැබැයි දැන් නම් මේ practice එක වෙන්නෙම නැහැ. Because all the banks, they are charging a lot of money for these mail LCs. Mail LC charges, if, for example, if you say, if you are charging 10,000 rupees per LC, the Swift one will charge them only 2,000 rupees. Because we want to discourage them. Then, මේ වගේ LC එකක් ආවද ගොඩක් ඒවා cut and paste අපිට තියෙන්නේ. half an hour කරන්න පුළුවන්. half an hour අපිට මුළු full LC එක ගහලා යවන්න. We don't have to go behind pre-advices, right? Them pre-advices ending there. But anyway, authenticated teletransmission of credit and amendment deemed to be operative unless otherwise stated. If teletransmission states full details to follow or words of similar effect, issuing bank must then issue the operative credit or amendment in terms not inconsistent with the teletransmission. Very important. If the teletransmission pre-advised LC under MT 705, if we have mentioned $100,000, the full LC should also be for $100,000. You can't put $100,500, right? Okay. Preliminary advice of issuance of a credit or amendment obligates the issuing bank to issue the operative rate of amendment. Right? Okay. We will discuss practice Article 12. Nomination. Nomination does not obligate nominated bank to honor. We can nominate a bank to honor, but it is not an obligatory thing to the nominated bank. This we have discussed enough, right? Even though we nominate Sampath Bank to negotiate, Sampath Bank can say, no, I don't want, right? That's their prerogative. By nominating a bank to accept a draft or incur a deferred payment undertaking, an issuing bank authorizes that nominated bank to prepay or purchase a draft accepted or a deferred payment undertaking incurred by that nominated bank. If the issuing bank has nominated the bank has a right to prepay or purchase a draft. Okay. Citibank, for example, Citibank NA is authorized to incur a deferred payment undertaking, and prepaid deferred payment undertaking, for example, early payment before the maturity. Right? LC, again, condition available with Citibank NA by deferred payment. So they have nominated Citibank NA. They have nominated Citibank NA. And how they are going to pay? By deferred payment. By deferred payment. At 90 days after date of shipment. 90 days are 90 days after date of shipment, the nominated bank there's a deferred payment undertaking, right? And if Citibank wants, they can prepay before 90 days. They can prepay before 90 days, that is before the maturity, right? But the only thing is, it's a deferred payment undertaking, right? Article 13. Article 13, I'm not going to discuss in detail because Article 13, I'm going to discuss in a separate session, bank-to-bank reimbursement agreement. Here, I'm going to discuss Article 13 as well as URR 725, Uniform Rules for Reimbursement 725, right? It's another complete 4-hour session. If a credit states that reimbursement is to be obtained from a reimbursing bank, it must state if the reimbursement is subject to the ICC rules for bank-to-bank reimbursement in effect on the date of issuance of the credit. So, normally, whether the reimbursement is subject to the ICC rules for bank-to-bank reimbursement. That means it is subject to URR 725. Then the articles of URR 725 should apply. If not, you can just say reimbursement. Then it will be guided by the UCP 600 Article 13. UCP 600 Article 13. Right? Article 14 is the most important article for document checkers. This is the most important article for the document checkers, right? This one you have to study and learn thoroughly. My advice to you for trade guys and getting ready for the BIT exam, you have to, it's a must that you have to read this Article 14 at least every other week. මේ ආටිකල් එක නම් කියවන්නම ඕන. කියවලා තේරුම් ගන්න ඕන ඔළුවට. හොඳට ඔළුවට තේරුම් ගන්න. Right? Article 14 it's you have to go through the articles. I'm not reading the articles, right? I'm going through certain things in between the articles, right? When you are examining the document, as the bank managers, we always request our document checkers to examine the document as per UCP 600 Article 14. That is standard for examination of documents. Must examine documents on their face to determine compliance. Document එක බැලුවාම ඒක ඔක්කොම details තියෙනවා කියලා බලන්න තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Don't think that you are a CID guy. You don't have to, but on the face of it, you have to determine whether it is complied or not. Right? Now, they have requested, the LC has requested for a beneficiary certificate. LC has requested for a beneficiary certificate. Now they have submitted the beneficiary certificate. The beneficiary certificate දුන්නාම දැන් ඔයාලට ෂුවර් නෑ මේක forged document එකක්ද නැද්ද කියන එක. You don't have to, ඉතින් ඒවා පටන් ගන්න මේක investigate කරන්න. මේ whose handwriting, whose signature, is the signature correct, right? Fingerprints department එකේ ඔය හොයනවා. CID. ඒක අපිට වැඩක් නෑ. අපිට ඕනේ මේ document එක තියනවාද කියන එක. Right? On the face of it. Other than the commercial invoice, description of goods, services or performance may be stated in general terms. It's very important. Other than the commercial invoice. In the commercial invoice, you have to explain in full the description of goods. What sort of goods. But other than the commercial invoice, description of goods, services or performance may be stated in general terms. Right? In general terms. Can you give me one example? One of the guys? Can you give me one example? Kevin? Ajit?
Garments?
Garments. මොනවා කියන්න බාන පුතේ?
Like
As in, if it's all clothes, they use
Yeah.
general term instead of describing individually.
Instead of describing everything there. Right? But in the invoice, you have to give the full description. Right? You have to give full description. Then something like this. If there are soft toys and various types of plastic toys, soft toys, and all those things, you are imported from China. In the invoice, you have to give a breakdown. Soft toys, how much? Right? Plastic ones, how much? You have to inform. But under the other documents, putting the descriptions under the documents, you can just say toys. You can just say toys, but not in the LC, not in the LC. Sorry, not in the commercial invoice, not in the commercial invoice, right? Okay. Disregard documents not required by LC and may be returned. මේකත් ගොඩාක් බැංක්ස් වල කරනවා, සමහර අය කරන්නේ. සමහර අය කරන්නේ. මම නම් when I was at Standard Chartered and HSBC, I always tell my guys and they adhere to this principle. Disregard documents not required by LC and may be returned. Then LC එකකින් ඉල්ලන නැති document එකක් අපි දීලා අපි මොකක් එකද check කරන්නේ? We don't know. Right? So the best thing is you have to disregard it and you have to return those documents to the beneficiary. Tell them that it is not needed by the LC. එතකොට සමහරට මෙයයි නම් කියනවා beneficiary might tell you, no, sir, without this document, the importer may find difficult to clear the goods from that time. Certificate of origin, but they have not requested under the LC, they have not requested. So it is not a discrepancy. So best thing is to return the thing. But if the customer requests us, then we can we have informed the customer, but they wanted us to send this document along with the other document. We don't take any responsibility, and we will not check, and we will not undertake any conditions in that particular document. Okay? Is it clear? The document checkers la venne yanne. Right. Disregard non-documentary conditions. Third point customers la gyana dena ඕන කුණු ගොඩක් අපි accept කරලා අරනවා. එහෙම නෙමෙයි. You have to check and try to get some clarification before you return the document. Right? Disregard non-documentary conditions. What do you mean by non-documentary conditions? Article H, 14H, Article 14H, you know. If a credit contains a condition without stipulating the documents to indicate compliance with the condition, banks will deem such conditions as not stated and will disregard it. Here non-documentary conditions. We have to disregard those things. Now, for example, the goods should be shipped in a vessel that is not the goods should be shipped in a brand new vessel. It's right. What do you mean by brand new vessel? It can be a first birthday ship one year old ship a new ship. It's right. Make a proof කරන්න මේක newly built ship එකක් දෙකලා prove කරන්න අපි conditions ඉල්ලලා නැහැ. එහෙනම් මේක non documentary condition එක. අපි ඒවට එක අතහැරලා දාමු. ඒව check කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. We disregard it. Right? Documents may be dated prior to issuance date of LC, but not later than the date of presentation. Documents may be dated prior to issuance date of LC. Right? Again, LC date අපි හිතමු 1st March 2021. 1st March 2021. Some of the documents are dated February 2017. 2021. February. Right? එතකොට අපි හොඳට බලනවා මේක ලොකු ඔෆ්සෙට් එකක්ද නැද්ද කියලා. ඒක සිග්නිෆිකන්ට් නැත්නම් අපි ඒක අතහැරලා දානවා. මොකද document may be dated prior to issuance of LC, but they cannot be dated after the presentation. If the presentation is on 12th June, presentation is on 12th June. The 12th June වලට කලින් LC එක මේ sorry documents date කරලා තියෙන පුළුවන්. ඒත් 12th වලට පස්සේ date කරන්න බෑ. 12th වල පස්සේ date කරන්න බෑ. UCP 600 maximum of 5 banking days. Earlier it was 7 working days කියලා තිබුණේ. 7 working days කියලා. දැන් ඒක හදලා තියෙනවා. Maximum of 5 banking days following day of presentation, not curtailed or affected by other events. Then make a balance UCP 600, right? They have presented the documents on Monday. They have presented the documents on Monday. The clock start clicking from Tuesday. Monday අතහැරලා දාලා තියෙන්නේ. Monday අතහැරලා තමයි clock එක පටන් ගන්න. Right? කියන්නේ 12th midnight ඉඳන් තමයි ඒක පටන් ගන්න යන්නේ. අවද කොච්චර dates කියලා. ඒතර Tuesday ඇවිල්ලා first date එක. Wednesday second date එක. Thursday third date එක. Friday fourth date එක. Saturday Sunday bank close. Then the maximum of 5 banking days. ඒතර ඊගාව Monday. ඊගාව Monday ඉස්සෙල්ලා documents එක මේ කරා නම් හරි. ඒ තේරෙනවද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට? right? මම කියන්නේ chart එක ඇඳලා දැම්මේ ඒකයි. ඒක තේරෙනවද නැද්ද? තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් කියන්නේ මම මෙතෙන් එහාට යනකොට තවත් හිර කරන්න බෑ.
So what about half days for the banks?
half days
that-
කියන්නේ half days අපිට ගන්න වෙනවා. මේ working day එකක් ඇටියට. banking day එක.
Right.
These days it is like that. 3 hours banking hours up to 9 to 12, 9 to 1. එහෙම නෑනේ. Otherwise it is 9 to 3 වගේ තියෙන නේ. දැන් අපිට අඩුවෙන් යන්නේ. එතකොට අපි ඒවා ගණන් ගන්නේ full day එකක් කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ banks වල දැන් trade එකේ ළමයි නායෙන් අඬ මාත් එක්ක කියන අනේ සර් මේ දවස්වල මැරෙනවා. නානෝ. ඒ වචන තමයි එන්නේ මට කියන්න ලස්සන වචන ටිකක් තියෙනවා. ඔය හැම බැංක් එකකම මගේ ගෝලෙ ඉන්නවනේ දැන් අනේ සුමාන්ට සරයක් ඔබත් අඩුගානු සුමාන දෙයකට සරයක්වත් ගාක් ළමයි කතා කරලා මගෙන් අහන්නේ වෙන මොකක්ද නේ සර් ඉන්නවද මලාද කියලා බලන්න විතරයි ඒකත් දුක දෙයක් සර් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ සර් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ සර් ඉන්නවනේ මේ සර් CBCS ක්ලාස් එක පටන් ගමුද සර් ඉන්නවනේ ඉතින් අහුව තමයි අහන්නේ ඒක අහන්න ගන්න ලොකු දෙයක් මට ලොකු හයියක් ළමයි එහෙම කෝල් කරලා අහනකොට I feel like මගේ ඩොටර් මට සුමාන්ට සරයක්වත් කෝල් එකක් දෙන්න අනේ අර ළමයි සුමාන්ට එකපාරක් දෙපාරක් කෝල් කරනවා right that's a big thing right ශවීන්ද්‍ර දන්නවද මගේ ඩොටර් ඔයගලගේ බැංක් එකේ
අවන්තිර
yes ඊළඟට ඔයගලා කේලම් කියන්නේම නැහැ right your aunt was also in my department then even second generation මගෙන් ඉගෙන ගන්නවා first generation second generation ඔක්කොම right දැන් අවන්ති මට කෝල් කරන්න සුමානකට සරයක් කෝල් කරන්නේ you people ඒ ළමයි අහනවා යවුවාම මම අහන කොහොමද පුතේ නානෝ සර් නානෝ ඒ බැංකුව අහනවා ඒවට කියන්න දාන කස්ටමර්ස්ලා ඒක full banking day එක full banking day එක right especially trade. ඒක clear ද ඔයගලන්ට මේ 5 banking days කියන එක? එතකොට මේ 5 banking days එකේ මේ වෙනවා when the beneficiary present the documents to the negotiating bank, they have 5 banking days. And then when the documents are received by the importer's bank, the issuing bank, then they have 5 banking days. The ඔහොම ගියොත් LC එකේ සල්ලි එන්න site LC එකේ සල්ලි එන්න 3 weeks විතර යනවානේ. එහෙම බැලුවොත්. But this 5 banking days is the maximum. මතන ගහලා තියෙන maximum of 5 banking days. That doesn't mean now this 5 banking days is not a must. Normally දැන් කතා කරලා පුතා මොන බැංකුවේද පුතේ?
DFCC, sir.
Huh? DFCC.
DFCC.
DFCC. තව කවුද ඉන්න ට්‍රේඩ් එකේ? ට්‍රේඩ් වල ඉන්න කට්ටිය. මාලික් ට්‍රේඩ් නේද? වෙන?
Sir, from corporate banking, sir.
Corporate banking. තව කවුද ඉන්නේ? ට්‍රේඩ් එකේ ඉන්නේ කවුද? මම ට්‍රේඩ් එකේ කියන දෙන්නේ. ට්‍රේඩ් එකේ LC එක. කියන්න බලන්න.
I'm Ajit.
Ajit from which bank?
Sampath Bank.
Sampath Bank. All right, Sampath Bank. Now, Ajit, when I don't know whether you are checking documents. Are you checking documents?
No.
No. But you know the basic.
No, sir. Not yet.
Yeah, basic process you know. Now, when you receive the documents from a beneficiary, are you going to keep the documents for 5 banking days? No. Every bank has
third or
second day 48 hours is a must. 48 hours වලින් ගියේ නැත්නම් bank එක නෙමෙයි. That is not a bank. Okay, 48 hours, within 48 hours, you can have 2 banking days, we have to dispatch the documents. Right? Okay. Even though 5 banking days, when in the issuing bank inside, then that is importer side, a lot of banks, the people who are working in the banks, you must have some experience. There are certain customers, especially Galwale Kattita, Corridor Road again, hardware, steel, tiles, traders, right? Galwale Kaladin, no neither. Mardan Tehapate, Hurst of it, right? Corridor Road again, අපි ඉන්න ගොඩාක් customers අපිත් එක demand කරන එකක් තමයි steel importers ලා. When we receive the documents, they don't want us to pay for, they want but until the 5th day, until the 5th banking day, they don't want to pay. What they say is, as per the UCP 600, we have 5 days. This UCP 600 5 banking days in a customer to name. Momanam buying a customer, my customers get up on them. That's for the banks. That's for the banks, not for the customer. Right? You think even Q-Hammer, if you don't know the details in UCP 600, you will agree. Article 14 ke තියෙනවනේ, Article 14B එකේ තියෙනවනේ. Maximum 5 banking days කියලා. ඔව් ඒක තමයි තියාගන්න. Right? ඊට පස්සේ අර ඔක commercial bank එක හා කියලා කළොත් එහෙම ඒ customer සම්පත් bank එකට ගියාම he will tell you Ajit commercial bank is doing. Why can't you do it? So, for the sake of keeping the customer, you will also go to the, you will also follow the bad practice, the wrong practice, right? This 5 banking days is not for you. Not for you, and not for the customer. It is for the bank, right? Presentation period. The presentation, including an original transport document, must be made not later than 21 calendar days after the date of shipment. Right? What is the article? What is the article? Can somebody tell me the article? 14 sub-article here.
14C.
14C. 14C, very good. 14C, very good. Right? Not later than 21 calendar days. Transport documents. The meaning of transport documents is that is subject to article 19 to 25. Right? The data not conflicting. Data in a document must not conflict with data in the document. Other stipulated documents or the LC. The LC says Bajaj 3-wheelers. The David Pierce Motor Company has opened a LC with Standard Chartered Bank, right? They are Standard Chartered customers, right? They have opened LC with Standard Chartered Bank to import Bajaj 3-wheelers. But some of the documents says, even the BL, even at any documents like certificate of origin says Bajaj motorbikes 500cc. Can you say it is correct? Because both Bajaj commercial invoice full details and I think යන්තම් short form තියෙනවා ඒක ලගුවානේ මොකද ඒතර ඒක හරියද ඒතර නෑ one is Bajaj 3-wheelers auto rickshaws, the other one is Bajaj motorbikes අර toys වගේ එක apply කරන්න බෑ මෙතෙන්ට it has to be not conflict with the other documents, right? Unspecified issuer or content. Other than invoice, transport documents or insurance documents, banks will accept the documents if its content appear to fulfill the function and 2, it complies with Article 14D. Article 14D. Article 14D says data in a document when read in context with the credit, the document itself and international standard banking practice need not be identical to, but must not conflict with data in that document. Right? Example, LC calls for inspection certificate. LC calls for inspection certificate. Right? The inspection certificate, you know, inspection certificate tag, you know, goods have been inspected and are certified to be in order. Another inspection certificate says goods are certified to be of Singapore origin. Goods have been inspected and are certified to be in order. Right? They have fulfilled the function. Addresses of beneficiary and applicant. Make a change actually. Addresses of beneficiary and applicant need not be the same between stipulated documents and the credit, but must be within the same country as in the credit. Right? Need not be the same between stipulated documents and the credit, but must be within the same country as in the credit. Right? පොඩ්ඩක් එහාට මෙහාට වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි country එක අතර වෙන්න ඕන. දැන් අපි මේ LCR කොට දෙන බිල්ඩින් එකක් තියෙනවා අපේ ඔෆිස් එක LCR කොට අපි ඉන්නේ අතුරු කෝට්ටේ. අතුරු කෝට්ටේ 4th lane අතුරු කෝට්ටේ. අපි දානවා. Then by the time after 3 months when we receive the document our address has been changed to Adhikaram Mawata අතුරු කෝට්ටේ. That's also අතුරු කෝට්ටේ. But different entrance. Right. ඒක වෙන්න පුළුවන් මේ අධිකාරම් මාවත කොහොමද වෙන්න. No issue. Right. හැබැයි it has to be in the within the same country. Disregard contact details of beneficiary and applicant. Disregard contact details of beneficiary and applicant. Fax, phone, email stated in the right. However, if they form part of the assignee and notify party, details in transport document, applicant's contact details must be as stated in the credit. Transport document එකේ එහෙම නැත්නම් consigning or notify party කියන්නේ ඒ වගේ ඒවට එනකොට අපි LCK address එකම දාන්න ඕන. Letter of, for example, letter of credit, applicant ABC company, 3 Temasek Avenue, Central Tower, Singapore, like that. BL to notify applicant. BL to notify applicant, ABC Incorporated. The invoice again එන්න පුළුවන් ABC INC, ABC Incorporated. Number 10, Coleman Street, Singapore. Right. Within Singapore, same country, address has been changed. It is correct. Bill of lading එකේ දාලා දෙනවා. Bill of lading එකේ දාලා දෙනවා. ABC Incorporated, 10 Coleman Street. ඒක වැරදි. Transport document එකේ ඒක දාන්න බෑ. Right? ඒක යන්න ඕනේ අර පරණ LC එකේ address එකම තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Is it clear? මම examples දැම්මේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ලේසියෙන් තේරුම් ගන්න. Okay. Overview of UCP 600 Article 14. Shipper, consignor, transport document, issuer. Shipper or consignor of goods. Consignor is the shipper in most cases. Consignee is the applicant. Shipper or consignor of goods indicated on any document need not be the LC beneficiary, but must be consistent among all documents. But must be consistent among all documents. Right? LC beneficiary වෙන්න ඕනේ නෑ. Okay? දැන් මේක වෙන්න පුළුවන් LC, as per the LC, beneficiary is ABC Company Limited. Beneficiary ABC Company Limited. The bill of lading says, shipper XYZ Company Limited. Shipper XYZ Company Limited. Make a hurry කියලා තියෙනවා. Why? Can you give me an example? Which I have taught you already. The example. මොන වගේ එකද මේක වෙන්න පුළුවන්? මොන වගේ එකද වෙන්න පුළුවන්? ළමයි එක්කෙන්ට බැද්ද? Article 38 එකේ අන්න තව උදව්වක් දුන්නා. මොන LCs වලද මේක වෙන්න පුළුවන්?
Transferable LCs?
Transferable LCs. When we transfer the LC, the middleman is, when we open the LC, then we keep the middleman as the beneficiary, first beneficiary, ABC and company. But when ABC and company transfer the LC, the second beneficiary is XYZ company. And goods will be shipped directly from XYZ company to LC issuing bank. LC issuing bank එකට goods ටික කෙලින්ම යනවා. එතකොට කවුද එතනදී beneficiary වෙන්නේ? Shipper වෙන්නේ. Shipper XYZ company, not ABC company. Right? The actual shipment has taken place from ABC company. Certificate of origin. Shipper XYZ company, correct. Certificate of origin එකක් ගත්තොත් එහෙම shipper ABC company කියලා. ඒක වැරදි. ඇයි? Bill of lading එකේ තියෙන XYZ company කියලා. Certificate of origin එකේ තමයි shipper ABC company කියලා ගන්න බෑ. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ ඕනේ certificate of origin එකත් XYZ company. Transport documents may be issued by party other than carrier, owner, master, charterer, provided it meets the requirement of Article 19 to 25. Right? That we will discuss when we are discussing those articles. Compliant presentation. Compliant presentation. When issuing bank determines a presentation is compliant, it must honor and release documents to the applicant. A confirming bank determines a presentation is compliant. It must honor or negotiate and forward documents to issuing bank. Nominated bank determines a presentation is compliant and honors or negotiate. Nominated bank. It must forward documents to confirming bank or issuing bank. Right? If we have added confirmation, and normally when we add confirmation, we make an amendment to say LC is restricted with confirming bank. So if some other bank is doing certain things, they should send the documents to documents to the confirming bank. But if they bypass confirming bank and if they send the documents to issuing bank, then the confirming bank, the obligations under confirmation will cease. They will say, no, we don't take any responsibility, because as per the conditions, you have to, you should have submitted the documents to us, which you have not done. Right? Clear? Mama Haryasai ඔයගේ LCs confirmation add කර කවුරුහරි වැරද්ද කරන්න පස්සේ ඒ වැරද්ද පෙන්නලා නිකන් ඉන්න. Then we don't have any obligation, but by that time I have taken the confirmation charges. Confirmation charges, right? ඒක ආපහු refund කරන්නේ නැහැ. Discrepant documents. We have noticed. This is also very, very important. Discrepant documents, if the documents are discrepant, then we'll have to refuse to honor or negotiate discrepant documents. Right? We don't want. So we'll have to inform the parties immediately. Immediately. Issuing bank in its sole judgment approach applicant for waiver. Samalat api dano rejection karino. If the documents are accepted by the applicants, then we will release the documents without advising you. Are? It is a sole judgment approach to the applicant for waiver. Within the documents reject karanne applicant the issuing bank. When it comes to rejection of documents, who should do it? Applicant or
Issuing bank, sir, right?
or the bank? Issuing bank, not the applicant. Applicant may gone back. Right? Make a Galwale customers lage very common thing. Sampath bank ke majetla danno hondata mewa mon kiyenකොට ගන්න හිනත් යනවා. There are some customers who comes to the bank and ask the doc checkers. They know the doc checkers very well. They all do. And the doc checkers are like, කොහොම හරි මේකේ discrepancy එකක් හොයලා ගන්න. කොහොම හරි discrepancy එකක් හොයලා ගන්න. අපිටත් උගන්වනවා. Because they are trying to get a reduction in the price. Right? Reject those are very bad practices. As bankers, we should not give into those things. Right? Customers malpractices. Notice of refusal must be given no later than close of 5th banking day, following day of presentation. Right? Notice of refusal must be given no later than close of 5th banking day, following the day of presentation. Or 5th banking day reject within that period. Failing to act in accordance with this article precludes the bank from claiming the presentation does not comply. Right? After providing notice of refusal, the bank may return documents to presenter at any time. Issuing bank or confirming bank may claim refund for any reimbursement made with interest. Okay? Single notice of refusal must state. Single notice of refusal. Make it very important. Single notice of refusal. When you are refusing the, rejecting the documents, the entire reason should be included in one document, one rejection. Later, once you send the rejection document, script, and when it goes to your big boss later, then when he go through the documents, he will find some more discrepancies. But you can't advise those things. It has to be one shot. The bank is holding and we have to mention the bank is holding documents pending presenters further instructions. The issuing bank is holding documents until it receives waiver from applicant and agrees to accept it, or receives further instructions from the presenter prior to agreeing to accept the waiver. The bank is returning the document. The bank is acting in accordance with the instructions of previously received from the presenter. Right? Overview of UCP 600 Article 16. Notice of refusal notice of refusal. Just follow the arrows 1, 2, 3, 4. The issuing bank is holding documents until it receives waiver from the applicant and agrees to accept it, or receives further instruction from presenter prior to agreeing to accept the waiver. Right? එතකන් මේගොල්ලෝ documents එක තියාගෙන ඉන්න ඕන. ගොඩලාට applicants ලා මේ discrepancies accept කරනවා. The issuing bank, right, will send the notice of refusal to the beneficiary. So in a scenario like that, the beneficiary sometimes may ask the issuing bank request them to return the documents, right? Applicant අපි මේව කරනවා. හැබැයි ඒ waiver එකට applicant කැමති වෙන්න ඕන. Right? මේකට යන්න. Important timelines. Document examination, maximum 5 banking days, following the day of presentation. One day after. Compliant presentation, when an issuing bank determines that a presentation is complying, it must honor. Refusal, notice of refusal by the close of the 5th banking day, following day, the day of presentation. Right? Okay. The minimum of 5 banking days, the 3rd day honor, it determines compliance. And the 5th banking day is the deadline for notice of refusal. Right? Okay. Done. That is part 1. What do you think about these presentations? Is it useful to you, these discussions? Are you learning something more than what you read and try to understand in the UCP 600? මේක නැද්ද මං කෙලින්ම මේ ගැන මේ වගේ අනිත් එක ටිකක් කතා කරන්න නැතුව වෙන සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකකට යන්නද ඔයගොල්ලෝ මේ කොහොමද දන්නවද මේක කරන්න ඕනද?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Huh? This is very useful because these discussions, you will open your eyes and try to understand what is there between these lines, right? That is the most important thing. All right. Can you see this slide show also?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, fine. UCP 600 articles, part 2. From article 16, we'll go to article 17, original documents and copies, right? Just give me 2 minutes to bring a glass of water. At least one original must be presented when you are presenting the documents. Original document means apparent original signature, mark, stamp, or label of issuer of the document. Right? Sometimes without the original signature, if they have put a stamp, we'll accept it. Right? Also, an original, it should be written, typed, perforated, or stamped by the document issuer's hand, or an original stationery or states that it is original. A4 paper this is original, right? Normally, when we receive the documents, it will be on customers' letterheads. LC requires copies of documents either originals or copies is acceptable. If the LC requires copies of documents, either originals or copies is acceptable. Right? Documents in duplicate or in twofold or in two copies. Documents in duplicate kila pikena, documents in twofold kila kena, documents in two copies kila kena. Presentation of at least one original and remaining number in copies is acceptable. In a scenario like that, in duplicate, in twofold or in two copies, you can submit any copies, but there should be one original and others can be copies. Right? Okay. Article 18, commercial invoice. Commercial invoice issued by beneficiary, made out in the name of the applicant, and need not be signed. Need not be signed. Commercial invoice invoice not signed. Invoice not signed. Discrepancy. We have seen these mistakes, right? But the signature, unless otherwise they have specified, it is not a must. But in the LC, if you have put a clause to say signed commercial invoice, signed commercial invoice, then you have to sign. Signed commercial invoice, you have to sign, definitely. Otherwise, if the LC has requested only commercial invoice, then no need. Right? Description of goods, services or performance must correspond with the LC description. Right? Invoice amount in excess of LC may be accepted by the nominated bank, but must not be honored or negotiated in excess of LC amount. Right? If the LC amount is 100,000, they have submitted documents for 125,000. Okay. It can be accepted by the nominated bank, but they should not negotiate. Because we don't know whether the LC issuing bank will reject these documents or not. Right? Commercial invoice must be in the same currency as LC. Must be in the same currency as LC. Right? The LC says currency and amount US dollars 1 million. Invoice number 123, invoice amount is US dollars 1 million. Equivalent to Singapore dollars 1/60. Is it correct? Is it correct?
Wrong, no, sir.
Is it correct?
Huh?
Wrong, right? Should
Sorry, I can't hear you.
wrong, right? The invoice amount also should be in dollars, right?
Yeah. So it is correct.
Yes.
Right? But you can mention it equivalent to Singapore dollars 1,560,000. But in the you have received another invoice number 456. Invoice amount is 1,560,000. That is equivalent of US dollars 1 million. Invoice amount is Singapore dollars 1,560,000. Equivalent to US dollars 1 million. Is wrong? Is accept करना? Is करना?
Invoice amount is Singapore dollars.
Invoice amount is Singapore dollars, which is not correct. It has to be in the same currency as the LC. Right? amount එක හරි equivalent එක 1 million එක හරි. නමුත් ඒක එන්නෝ අර කලින් ඒ විදිහට. invoice amount එක දාලා අනිත් එක දාන්න පුළුවන් යටි. Now the overview of shipping articles, transport articles. Right? මම මේකේ පුළුවන් තරම් කරන්නම්. ඒක ටික ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ supply chain management කරද්දී කරනවා. හැබැයි මේ අද මම කරන ටික it will be very useful to all of you, right? To further your knowledge and to get ready you guys for Mrs. Anoma's lecture on supply chain management, right? Changes to Swift MT700, new fields for transport details, 44A, 44A transport details. 44A can a place of taking in charge, dispatch form, yes. Port of loading, port of loading 44E, place of taking in charge is different. Is there Venus there? Is there Venus there? Can somebody give me an example? So the others also can understand. What do you mean? What is the difference between place of taking in charge and port of loading? Ajit?
Place of taking in charge, it means warehouse of exporter, and port of loading is exporter's country.
Okay, good. Answer is correct. Answer is correct. Sometimes inland transportation also there. If the place of taking in charge, we load the container in Mahiyangane or Asrak garment factory. It's in the Aragatala. Abi Colomboin Patagonia Hambino, port of loading. Okay, good. Port of discharge or airport of destination. That's 44F and 44B, place of final destination for transportation to blah blah blah, place of delivery. Right? Okay. Transport documents covering multimodal transport. Multimodal means more than one mode of transport. There's the first leg is by truck or with the move. Bringing the goods to the port or something like that, right? From far away. And then that is a truck consignment. Then after that you have bill of lading. The mode of transports are more than one. More than one. Right? Must appear to indicate name of carrier. Article 19 must appear to indicate name of carrier, signed by carrier or master or named agent. Ek band Article 19 එක කියවන බලන්න පොඩ්ඩක්. Article 19A, A1, you all are having the UCP 600, I suppose, right? ළමයි තියනවද?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
නෑ?
Yes, sir.
ඔව් මං කියවනේ මේ UCP අරගෙන එන්නේ කියලා හැමදාම ක්ලාස් එකට. ඔයා නාවට කවන්නේ නෑ. කියවද? Article 19A1. the signing capacity of signing the transport document. It can be signed by the carrier, master, or named agent, but you must appear to indicate the name of the carrier. If signed by the agent, need to specify by whom, carrier or master, when it's signed. ABC forwarders as agent for masters. As agent for masters. 500 degree now make it as agent for master. Then ABC forwarders as agent for master Takashi Yanagawa. Right? Again, it is very, very clear. Must appear to indicate name of carrier. Then signed by the carrier, master, or named agent. But you have to give the capacity, how you have signed. Right? Okay. Overview of Article 19, indicating goods have been dispatched, taken in charge, or shipped on board. Indicating goods have been dispatched, taken in charge, or shipped on board by pre-printed wording. It can be showed in pre-printed wording. Issuance date is the date of dispatch, taken in charge, or shipped on board. Right? Issuance date is the date of dispatch or taken in charge or shipped on board. On board date එක වෙනස් නම් අපි inform කරන්න ඕන. Right? By a dated notation indicating the date goods have been dispatched, taken in charge or shipped on board. The date is the date of shipment. Clear? Then must indicate place of dispatch, taken in charge or shipment, and place of final destination stated in the LC, even if transport document. Right? Must indicate place of dispatch, taken in charge or shipment, and place of final destination stated in the LC, even if transport document. It should state, in addition, different places of dispatch, taken in charge or shipment, or place of final delivery, final destination. Then contains indication intended or similar qualifications in relation to vessels, port of loading, port of discharge. If issued in more than one original, all originals are required. If the LC says all originals, right? All original BL should be provided. එතකොට හතරක් නම් දීලා තියෙන BL මදි. අවශ්‍ය කරලා බලන්න ඕන මෙයා කීයක් ඉෂුව කරලා තියෙනවා. right? මෙයා කීයක් ඉෂුව කරලා තියෙනවා කියලා අපි බලන්න. ඒක බලලා උඩ තියෙන number of originals කියලා ඒක ඔක්කොම ලැබිලා තියෙනවා කියලා බලන්න. Otherwise it is disputed. Right? Normally, how many, what is the normal practice in LCs, BLs? How many originals? Three.
Three originals.
Yeah, 3 originals. That's a normal practice. But do you know, there are instances where the shipper is issuing LC's transport documents with 5 originals, 6 originals, right? The BL number of original. We have to have all originals. Why is that? Hayak issue කරලා නම් පහක් තියෙනවා නම් මද මොකද? ඇයි අපි insist කරන්නේ? All originals should be submitted. Hey, issue කරන්නේ. මේක එනවා collection වලට මේ question එක. මොකද ඉක්මනට කියන්නේ? ඇයි එකක් අඩු වුණොත් අපි discrepancy එක කියලා කෝඩ් කරන්නේ. ඇයි එකක් අඩු වුණොත් discrepancy එක කියලා කෝඩ් කරන්නේ. Why?
Because the shipment is covered by all the 6 documents, is it, sir?
Mm-hmm. So normally we know three originals, but in this particular one they have issued 6 originals, but they have submitted us 5 originals. Why we quote it as a discrepancy? Why we quote it as a discrepancy? Tell me. Very simple question I have asked.
Consigning bank එකනේ sir.
Huh? Consigning?
Consigning bank එකනේ sir.
Okay. Consigning bank. Okay, fine. Still we quote it as a discrepancy. Still we quote it as a discrepancy. Why?
So because the originals, there are 6 originals. So if they've issued 6, there should be 6 presented.
Yes, that's why. That's my question. Now they have presented only 5, but all originals are consigned to the bank. But still, they have sent only 5 instead of 6. So we quote it as a discrepancy. Why? Why? That only one missing one is enough to clear the goods if it is original. Now you must be asking a question, right?
So then why 5 documents?
Yeah, but we have issued 6 originals. We have received 5 consigned to the bank. Right? Still we are quoting as a discrepancy. Right? So without the bank's endorsement, you can't clear the goods. That's true, huh? That's why we have consigned to the bank, no? So the එතකොට අපි මේ ලොකු ඉෂුව එකක් කරන්න මේකට බැංකුවට කන්සර්න් කරලා තියෙනවා that particular one document is more than enough to the applicant or any other party to clear the concern. But you will be, now you are asking the question, why still it is consigned to the bank? Forget about it. If it is consigned to the bank, then we have to endorse it to the customer's name and put the bank signature, rubber stamp on the bank's rubber stamp. Bank rubber stamp එක කපන්න කොච්චර දැන්නේ? රුපියල් 200යි. සමහර තැන්වල 150යි රුපියල් 100යි. rubber stamp එකක් කපා ගන්න. Right? Sampath Bank. Authorized signatory කියලා ස්ටෑම්ප් එකක් කපා ගන්න මාළුක දෙයක් යන්නේ නැහැ. බැංක් කපට ගන්නවා. right? ඒක ගහලා පිටපස්සේ එන්ඩෝස් කරලා දෙනවා. then එන්ඩෝස් කරනවා. හැබැයි බඩු ක්ලියර් කරලා ගිහින්. ඒකෙන්ද තමයි if we have to keep a track, then we should have all the BL copies or transport document copies. Right? Need not examine contents of terms and conditions of the carriage. Right? Must not indicate it is subject to a charter party. No mention of vessel propelled by chain. Charter party නම් අපි කියන්නත් බෑ. ඒක charter party එකක් කියලා කිව්වොත් ඒක discrepancy එකක් වෙනවා. අපි ඒක වෙනම charter party BLs වලට handle කරනවා. Unloading from one means of conveyance and reloading to another means of conveyance, whether or not in the different modes of transport. During the carriage from the place of dispatch, taking in charge was shipment to be its final destination, it is transshipment. It's transshipment. Transshipment means we unload it from one vessel and we reload it to another vessel. Do you know the when we order reconditioned vehicles from Japan, right? You have to put the clause transshipment. Yes, you have to allow them to transship. Why? First, they send the consignment to Singapore. That's a hub. From Singapore, they will reload it to certain ships, which is touching Colombo. Some are going direct to some are going to Colombo, some are going to country, India, some are going to Africa, South Africa or Tanzania, or some other African countries, right? Otherwise, the ship has to come to Colombo and then unload what is relevant to Colombo and then go to some other country, wherever they know. Taking the within the transshipment. We unload it and reload it, right? Bill of lading, Article 20. Article 20. Right? And Article 21, non-negotiable seaway bill. Bill of lading is a title document. It's a title document. You can endorse it and hand over the title to another person. Like check. Right? Must appear to indicate name of the carrier. Right? Must appear to indicate the name of the carrier. Signed by carrier, master or named agent. Mekat බලන්න Article 20 Bill of Lading. Article 20 එකේ තියෙනවා signing authority කොහොමද එන්න ඕනේ කියලා. Right? If it is master, okay. If it is signed by the agent, it need to specify for whom carrier or master it is signed. Whether you have what you have to in simple you have to mention the capacity, on what capacity you are signing. If you are signing as a master, it's okay. But if you ABC forwarders, right? As agent for masters, yes. As agent for masters, yes. Right? Then as agent for Master John Doe. They are given the full details. Very good. Take a hurry. Right? You have to see, give the capacity. Indicating goods have been shipped on board. Mami ඔක්කොම article එක කියවන්නේ. මම import name අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ. Indicating goods have been shipped on board. You have to have a on-board notation. But on-board notation, like in the BL, on-board notation is not there. Right? On-board notation එකේ අපිට නැත්තම් on-board notation එක නැත්තම් is a discrepancy. It's a discrepancy. Then how we determine the receivable dates? How we determine on-board date determine can.
Date of issue of BL.
Date of issuance of the LC, then we'll have to determine that's the date of on-board date. On-board date, right? Port of loading in BL differs from the status of the LC, or BL contains intended qualification with regard to the port of loading. On-board notation is required. Regardless of reprinted, shipped BL is presented, indicating port of loading as in the LC, date of shipment, date of vessel. Then right? If issued in more than one original, originals should be required. Okay. Need not examine contents of terms and conditions of the carriage. How many people have seen a bill of lading when handling the documents in your bags, respective bags? How many people have seen? Have seen? දැකලා නැද කවුරුත්? Ajit? Kevin?
I have,
You have, then why don't you answer? My time waste නෑ කරන්නේ. මම ආගෙන ඉන්න උත්තරයක් කරගන්න. මම ඉන්නවා. Right? ඒකේ on the reverse of it, you must have seen the terms and conditions of that BL.
yes, I haven't seen.
Yes, you have seen. And when you are checking the documents, have you ever gone through the conditions?
No.
No. ඒක අපිට කිව්වල වැඩක් නැහැ. ඒක terms and condition, no need to examine. ඒවා කියවන්න යන්න එපා. Must not indicate it is subject to a charter party අර විතර වෙනවා. මේක transshipment එකේ BL may indicate goods will or may be transshipment provided entire carriage is covered by one and the same BL. Even prohibited by the LC, BL indicating transshipment will or may take place if acceptable if goods have been shipped in a container, trailer or lash bag. Right? Lash bar jema උගලන්ට මත තියාගන්න Mrs. Anomaram Singh ගන්නයි with examples. Right? Okay. Article 22, Charter Party BL. What is Charter Party BL? What is Charter Party? What is Charter Party? in some cases, we have to hire the entire ship. The express pearl, which faced some unfortunate incident outside our harbor recently, right? It was not a charter party. They had goods belongs to several parties. Several parties. Charter party කියන්නේ මුළු ship එකම අපි එක්කෙනෙක් hire කරගන්නවා. hire කරගෙන තියාගන්නවා. Right? So normally we can see the charter party beers in charter party beers in Obeda අපිට එන්නේ. Sugar, cement, oil, oil, ඒ වගේ ඒවා මේ fertilizer ඒ වගේ ඒවා charter party. වෙන ඒවත් එක mix කරන්නේ නැහැ. වෙනම ships තියෙනවා. Right? But charter party is very, very dangerous because charter can go anywhere in the world. The BL should contain indication that it is a party. LC gets no. Charter party shipment level, right? There are LC gets BL gets they have to be informed, right? And again, signed by master or owner, charterer or named agent if signed by master, right? Metika අපි බලන්න ඕන. හොඳට බලන්න කවුද sign කරන්නේ. signature capacity එක තමයි අපි බලන්නේ. Agent signing for owner or charterer must indicate name of owner or charterer. He has to mention under what authority I am signing. On behalf of whom? Right? ABC forwarders, they have signed as agent for owner. John Doe, correct. ABC forwarders has signed as agent for charterer. Right? ABC forwarders as agent for master. Okay. Okay. So let's take a small break. My throat is aching. 5 to 3. We'll meet at 3:10. You guys also can grab a cup of tea and come back and sit. Now, how many people are there in the class? Kevin or somebody can tell me?
37, sir.
32.
37. Right. We'll check back at about 3:30 how many people are there. Now this has become a practice. කරන්න එපා. Now ඉස්සරහට අපි හොඳ දේවල් කතා කරනවා. Exam එකට ඕනම ඒවා ටික. Right? ඒක නම් don't go missing. Come back and we'll start the session by 3:10. I just checked with IBSL and I am asking this question from you guys, right? Now last few months I was doing online classes. Especially when we are doing online classes for the DABF, it's only 2 hours classes. Online 4 hours is a little bit difficult because I'm talking and interaction is very very low, right? I have to ask questions. Normally you don't ask any questions. I have to ask questions. I have to go behind people, right? Some are there. They are the people who are keeping the momentum of the class, right? And I don't know the productivity of having the classes for 4 hours. Shall we since we are having a little bit time, shall we do it for 3 hours? What do you think? 1:30, 4:30?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any feedback against for? Hmm? Because 3 or 4 hours is very strenuous to me as well as you guys, right? If it is in the class, we all are active. Normally in my classes, nobody go into sleep because now here I am also sleepy because you get tired with my age and everything. You get tired. So if we have classes for 3 hours, then it will be more productive. And for you also to whatever you can get into your head is limited. And next week we can continue the thing. That's my suggestion. But if you want to have 4 hours, then I can do it. Why I am telling this is even up to now, we have not we haven't had the last batch exam. Last batch exam also we had to postpone. Practical test also we had to postpone. Right? ඒක ඉවර කරලා එපා මම මේකේ exam එකක් ගන්න. ඒ වෙනකොට මට ඕන තරම් කල් තියෙනවා කරන්න. What do you think about it? Ladies? Ladies, what is your idea? For us more? No, මම ඔයගොල්ලෝ කියන විදිහට කරන්න. Why you all are silent? Tell me yes or no.
Yeah, sir. 3 hours is good.
3 hours is good, sir.
Three hours, 3 hours is good because you're also getting joined from homes. I can hear from the background when you unmute your mics, the little ones are coming to you and they are bothering you, and majority are married people, so you have other obligations also, right? And 1:30 is it 1 to 4 or 1:30 to 4:30? Then the time. What do you prefer? Or 2 to 5? Which one?
2 to 5.
Huh?
1 to 4, sir.
1 to
1 to 4.
1 to 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
1 to 4.
Yeah, sir. 1 to 4 is okay.
1 to 4 is okay. Majority? With a small break.
Yes, sir.
With a small break of 10 minutes. Comfort break. Right? Comfort break for 10 minutes to have a to refresh yourself and then come back and do it. Or 1:30, 4:30.
1 to 4 is better, sir.
1 to 4 is better.
Yeah, sir. 1 to 4 is better.
Right, fine. Then girls, are you agreed?
Yes, sir. 1 to 4 is okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
1 to 4 is okay, sir.
Yes,
1
sir.
to 4 is okay. So then no need to inform the others who have not joined the class or if you have left the class by now. Anyway, we are going to start at 1 o'clock, the normal time, and we'll finish it at 4 o'clock. Right? Okay, බලමු. කොහොමද වෙන්නේ කියලා බලමු අපි.
Okay, sir.
සමහර දාට ඉතින් පොඩ්ඩක් එහාට පැට මේ වෙනස් වැඩි කරන්න වුණොත් automatically it will go by another 10-15 minutes. Okay, from next week we'll do that. Right. We'll go back to the session. Overview of UCP 600 Article 22. That's a charter party. Because charter party vessels are very, very risky. when you are doing the transportation by charter party vessels, there are a lot of chances that the mishaps can happen. One thing is there's no guarantee about the standard of the vessel, condition of the vessel, right? And the other thing is during the voyage, they can sell the vessel. I have seen, I have handled a few cases. I have faced those cases, right? One of the cases, this is like charter party vessels are like hiring cars again, right? To one of my customers, when I was working in Colombo, a sugar consignment. Normally, sugar consignments comes in bulk, charter party vessels, right? And during the voyage, in the mid-sea, they have sold the vessel. They have sold the vessel. The owner has sold the vessel. The charterer is saying, this guy has sold the vessel. It was a Panama flag, right? The owner in Panama, he has sold the vessel. The new owners in the mid-sea, they have come to the, they have come in another vessel or something, and they have informed the charterer to turn the ship and come to the nearest port. They have named the nearest port to come to the nearest port, right? So when they came to the nearest port, they have taken over the ship, and even the ship color has been changed. Earlier it was white, they have painted in light blue, and they have renamed with another name because that's their own baby, right? And the goods they dumped in one of the warehouses and gone, right? So that is charter party. It is very, very risky. It's very, very risky, right? Port of discharge may be shown as a range of ports or geographical area as stated in the LC. It can say port of discharge, any Asian port, any Asian port. Any Asian port LC are. It can go to hundreds of ports. There are hundreds of ports in Asia, right? Some our people also I have seen in some banks in Sri Lanka, they open LCs, any port in China. That at least they have limited to China. Any port in India, right? That is something. Any port in Asia, any Asian ports can too risky. If issued in more than one original, all originals are required. That's a general thing. Need not examine charter party contracts. No mention that the BL must not indicate vessel propelled by sail only, right? Overview of UCP 600 Article 23. Article 23 is air transport document, right? Air transport documents must appear to indicate name of carrier, right? Signed by carrier or named agent. If signed by agent, if signed by agent, if signed by agent, need to indicate that agent has signed for on behalf of carrier. Must indicate must indicate date of issuance, which will be deemed to be the date of shipment, unless blah blah blah. Specific notation of actual date of shipment, even not called for in the credit, will be deemed to be the date of shipment. Specific in the like the BL, even on the airway bill, if they have mentioned a specific date of the loading the goods to the aircraft, then that will deem to be the date of shipment, right? Shipment date not determined by any other information regarding flight numbers and date, inbox marked for carriers use only. Be the original for consignor or shipper, even if credit stipulates full set of originals. That is why airway bill is not a title document. Airway bill is not a title document, right? Need not examine the terms and conditions of the carriage, right? Unloading from one aircraft and reloading to another aircraft during the carriage from airport of loading to the airport of destination is transshipment. This transshipment matter, you have to be careful when you're opening LCs. For some goods, it is better not to say yes to transshipment. Better say no to transshipment. Transshipment prohibited. The reason is, now, for example, if the goods are glass or mirrors, it can be, those are breakable. When you unload and reload to another vessel or aircraft, the damages can happen. Glasses, right? There may be a lot of damages. The transshipment, yes, then the shipper has the right to mention transshipment allowed. Transshipment not allowed. We have to say transshipment. If you keep silent, then that means deemed to be transshipment allowed. You have to decide transshipment allowed or not allowed. You have to first scrutinize what is the goods, what sort of goods, right? Sometimes the customer will do it as per the performance, but as a banker, you have to inform the customer, you have to advise the customer, do you think that this is a good thing for you to do, right? Those things you have to ask. Then overview of UCP 600 Article 24. Article 24 is road, rail, or inland waterway transport documents. Right? Road transport documents, containers, Lankavanam Udaramadi, Abai, Velratola, Mega, this is a very common thing. Right? Overland transactions. Must appear to indicate name of carrier, signed by the carrier or named agent. If signed by agent, need to indicate that agent has signed for or acted for or on behalf of the carrier. මේ ඔක්කොම multimodal එකේ 19 ඉඳන් මෙතෙන්ට නිකන් එක වගේ එන්නේ. Signing capacities, when you are signing a transport document, you have to mention as what capacity you are going to sign the document, right? Whether you are the agent, whether you are the agent for whom, right? Whether you are the carrier, right? Must indicate date of issuance. The මේව එහෙම දාන්න එපා master කියලා. master keleni ship එකට විතරයි යා. Must indicate date of issuance or date goods have been received for shipment. Right? Dispatch or carriage, which is the date of shipment. Unless the transport documents contains a dated reception stamp, an indication of date of receipt or a date of shipment. Right? Inland waterways, we can have shipments. Railroad is a common thing in continental countries. Once I have handled shipment from Kazakhstan to Beijing, China, right? Goods were steel. Kazakhstan is very famous. World #1 steel manufacturers are based in Kazakhstan, right? From there to China. That's a country where you get the highest number of construction work at the moment, right? So they need steel. So they import steel from Kazakhstan, the overland. Do you know that Chinese government has built a rail track from Kazakhstan to China, just to support the transportation, right? And you get the railway bill, right? The transport documents, the railway bill. ලංකාවේ නුවරඑළිය ඉඳන් කොළඹට මල් ලැබෙනවා ට්‍රේන් එකේ මල් ලැබෙනවා. ඇවිල්ලා අපි අර ඒ ડોකියුමන්ට් එක අරන් සබ්මිට් කරාම තමයි පිට මේ ෆෝර්ට් ස්ටේෂන් එකෙන් they will release, right? Here also the same thing, but two different countries. I had this issue of checking the documents. When I was checking the documents were massive ones, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, one document, right? And the transport document was railway bill in Russian language. It's in Russian language, right? The Russian language is the මගේ ළමයින්ට තේරෙනවද? මට තේරෙනවද? මොකද්ද මේකේ තියෙන්නේ කියලා. එකම දේ තියෙන්නේ අපි දන්නවා port of loading, port of dispatch. ඒ දෙකේ ඉතින් නම් දෙක එනවනේ ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන්. ඉතින් ඒ දෙක විතරයි තියෙන අනිත් ඒවා මොනවද කියලා අපි දන්නේ නැහැ. So what I did was I suggest the importer and the exporter. I suggest the importer to give me an indemnity, undertaking that they will accept railway bills in Russian language irrespective of any discrepancies, because we can't check. Right? You got it? Now those things are happening. Those are going under Article 24. Unloading from means to conveyance and reloading to another means of conveyance within the same mode of transport during the carriage from the place of shipment, dispatch or carriage to the place of destination is transshipment, right? For rail and road documents or rail transport documents, if it does not identify the carrier, any signature or stamp of railway company is accepted as being signed by the carrier, right? transport documents marked duplicate is accepted as an original. So make a title document right? Transport documents will be accepted as original whether marked as an original or not, also applicable to inland waterway transport. Road transport documents marked for consignor or shipper or bear no marking for whom the documents have been prepared. It is the original, right? Because road transport, the original is with the shipper. අනිත්‍යයට දෙන්නේ copy එක. ඒ copy එක තමයි අපි use කරන්නේ. The last one is Article 25, courier receipts. Post receipts are certificate of posting, right? Now, these things, courier receipt must appear to indicate the name of the courier service, blah, 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 indicate the date of pickup or receipt. You can see, you must have seen courier receipts in your banks. Every day you are getting these courier receipts, which you go through it, right? Requirement that the courier charges to be paid or prepaid, right? Whether the bank is going to pay or it has been prepaid by the shipper, right? Post receipt of certificate of posting must appear to be stamped or signed and date at the place of goods are to be shipped, right? Receipt of certificate of posting. This date will be deemed to be the date of shipment. Right. Article 26. Another important, now the transport documents are over. 19 to 25. Read it again. Try to understand. Refer my notes and then keep the notes open and then read Article 19 to 25. And then you will understand. You can get a better understanding when you are discussing supply chain management. When you are discussing supply chain management, right? So when you are discussing that, please get ready with a lot of questions. The gray areas which you have come across, better jot down when you are reading, when you are studying the UCP 600 articles, transport articles. When you are studying, if there's any gray areas, jot down by now. In about another 3-4 weeks time, you have to start supply chain management, right? So in that class, try to ask questions. Don't be dumb people like I am having, right? Better ask all those questions. If you have any some colleagues in your bank trade department, if they have any queries or your day-to-day issues, please jot down and prepare the question in such a way that everybody can understand your issue, right? සමහර අයගේ question ඇහුවාම question එක පටන් අරගෙන අන්තිම හරියට එනකොට අපිට මතක නැහැ මොකද්ද question එක කියලා. එච්චරටම complicated. එහෙම කරන්න නැතුව යන්න. Now Article 26 is on deck shippers load and count set by shipper to contain and charges additional to freight. Article 26. Another important article. මේකත් ගොඩක් කරාට questions එනවා. මේකට ගොඩක් කරාට questions එනවා. Examination හරි answer topic එකක් මේක. Article 26. Right? It says transport documents indicating goods are or will be loaded on deck not acceptable. If you get a transport document to say the goods are or will be loaded, goods are loaded on deck, wrong. Good will be loaded on deck, not acceptable. But the transport documents indicating goods may be loaded on deck is acceptable. Goods may be loaded on deck is acceptable. Right? You can ask this question from Mrs. Ransinger when she is doing this area. What is the why it is specifically? Right? Yeah, explain kala kiyawe කොහොමද මේ vessels වල මේක ඔය තත්ත්වය වෙන්නේ කියලා. මට වැඩි හොඳට කියාවේ. Right? For your exams, you have to have it in by heart. In the transport documents, if the goods are or will be loaded in the deck, loaded on the deck, is not acceptable. If it says may be loaded on deck, it is acceptable. Right? Shippers load and count and set by shipper to contain is acceptable. What do you mean by it is a why goods will be loaded on deck? Acceptable then. If it is containerized cargo, definitely it will be loaded on deck. I'm talking about the others. I'm talking about the others. Will be loaded on deck is not acceptable. Why? It's a common sense answer. Yeah. ගොඩාක් හිතන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඊයේ පෙරේද ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැක්කා Express Pearl එකේ. If they have loaded on deck, that was containers na. Containers නැතුව තිබුණා goods මොකද වෙන්නේ?
It'll go up the rail.
Huh? It will wash away නේ to see කෙලින්ම උඩින් යනවා. ඔය ship එක ගිනි අරගෙන අර මෙයා පුපුරන්න වුණා නම් අපි දැක්කනේ දැන් එන්නේ ගහගෙන එන්නේ මේව පිටින්ම ඒ කන්ටේනර්ස් ඇතුළේ තිබුණේ නිකම්ම එළිය තියලා තිබ්බනම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? A shipment of sugar, dal, if you load it on deck, so by the time it comes to Sri Lanka, anything can happen, right? Salt, ලුණු පටෝල එන්න නැවක මේ පෞගේ දවස්වල වගේ බෑඩ් වෙදර් එකක ආවනම් කොහොමද? නැව. මෙහාට එනකොට ලුණු ගෝණි තියෙනවා. ලුණු නැහැ. සීනි ගෝණි තියෙනවා. සීනි නැහැ. Right? Due to the අනිත් ඒවා වෙන perishable items වගේ සමහර ඒවා. දැන් I had once I had a case when I was there in Dubai. They have loaded consignment of what do you call this? Bee onions from India to Colombo. From India, one of the ports in India, Mumbai port to Colombo. The vessel took only 3 days or 4 days, the voyage. Right? Transport document will be loaded on deck. Documents came to Sampath Bank. Ajit, can you remember one of the trade maestros at Sampath Bank? Even he has taught me, even my guru, Mr. Paramadharmadana. Please, Ajit is there.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you remember, or you are a new person?
I
Yeah, but-
transferred to trade
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, you have heard of him. A legend.
Straight financial process.
Yeah, a legend banker. Right? He's a walking encyclopedia in trade. Right? He was, at that time, he was one of the consultant to Sampath Bank. He retired and consultant to Sampath Bank. So he has rejected the document. He has rejected the document. So he has mentioned we are rejecting. Then our guys, HSBC guys, were having certain correspondence with Sampath Bank. Sampath Bank was adamant. Sampath Bank was adamant. They said, no, we are not accepting the discrepancy. Right? Then I saw, then later it came to me for some, for my views, right? When I went through this, Mr. Dharmadana has very clearly mentioned, if you have mentioned indicating goods may be loaded on deck is acceptable, then you would have done something. But here, very clearly, he has said will be loaded on deck. When the goods, the biryani and consignment is coming from India to Sri Lanka within that 5 days under heavy sun, the heat and all, these things can get perished. We were inside the deck end on it. තට්ටුවට දාගෙන මේ බොම්බලුණු ගෝණිය තට්ටුවට දාගෙන ඇවිල්ලා බෑ. Right? Then so our people, I saw, because the reason was most of the people were Indians and locals. Indians මොනවා වුණත් කමන්නේ ලාභයට වැඩි කරගෙන යෝනේ. So Indians were arguing, oh, what is the difference, big difference between may be loaded on deck is acceptable and will be loaded. This is used to be 600, simply. Okay? So after I saw the correspondence and I saw who is handling the correspondence, then I advise our people, forget about arguing with these guys. That guy is a maestro. You can't argue because what he says is correct. We are wrong. Right? The reason was all people have discounted the bills. We have done the wrong thing and done the wrong thing again. We have discounted the bills. Right? So that is one example. Then shippers load and count. What do you mean by shippers load and count? In some BLs, they say shippers load and count. When you load it to the ship, the shipper, right, he will count. He will, when you are loading, he will count 102 boxes. Shippers load and count 102 boxes. So that those boxes, they have counted. That is acceptable. Or they can say, you get sealed boxes. Right? Sealed boxes. The master of the ship doesn't know what it is, whether it's explosives or not. Right? But the shipper say, no, said by shipper to contain, these are dal. Yeah, get me pariputi in my boxes actually. Then you have to put a condition, said by shipper to contain dal. It is acceptable. Said by shipper to contain. Or shippers load and count. Right? Third one, transport documents bearing reference to charges additional to freight is acceptable. Additional to freight is acceptable. In the Article 36, it says that 26C, transport document may bear a reference by stamp or otherwise to charges additional to freight. Additional to freight, it's not a discrepancy. It is acceptable. Article 27 is very clear. Clean transport documents. Clean transport is one bearing no clauses or notations expressly declaring a defective conditions of goods or their packaging. That's clean. The word clean need not appear on a transport document. Even credit requires clean on board. The credit says clean on board note, clean on board bill of lading. But the clean word is not there. No harm. No harm. It is acceptable. But if there is a clause in the LC to say, a notation in the LC to say, there are certain defective conditions of goods or their packaging, then it is not clean, right? You have some oil barrels. You have loaded some oil barrels. 4 oil barrels are leaking. You have loaded 1,000 oil barrels. 4 oil barrels are leaking. That is a defective. That is a defective, right? Then those type of LCs, transport documents, are not acceptable. Insurance documents and coverage, right? This also will be done by a specialist, which he will do. Mr. Janta Distilva will discuss insurance, but nevertheless, I will just brief you about Article 28. So, before we start the insurance, the special lectures, you can get ready. Insurance document, when you talk about the insurance document, it can be insurance policy, insurance certificate, or declaration under open cover. All 3 are acceptable, but cover notes are not acceptable. Cover notes are not acceptable, right? Issued and signed by insurance company, underwriter, or their agents or their proxies, right? Signature by agent or proxy indicated as being for or on behalf of insurance company or underwriter. මේ ඔක්කොම තියෙනවා. මේක sign කරනවා වගේම තමයි. What is your signing capacity? You have to mention ABC Insurance Company, fine. Agent for ABC Insurance Company, fine. By proxy for ABC Insurance Company, fine. Okay. Then all originals must be presented. If the insurance policy, it says 3 originals, then all originals must be presented. If the document indicates that more than 1 original has been issued, right? Sometimes it says 3 originals. Sometimes they are silent on number of originals. Then we'll have to accept whatever they have submitted, right? Cover note, not acceptable. I told you. Cover note, not acceptable, right? Cover note is valid only for 14 days. Then anything can happen. Insurance policy is acceptable in lieu of insurance certificate or declaration under open cover. Insurance policy, LC has requested for insurance certificate, but the customer has submitted insurance policy. It is acceptable, right? The LC has requested for insurance policy. The customer has submitted insurance certificate, not acceptable. Then it is not acceptable, right? Issued no later than shipment date, or it appears from the document that the cover is effective from a date on no later than the shipment date, right? Insurance policy, example, insurance policy, effective date 1st August 2007. But it was issued on 8th August 2007. But they have put an effective date from 1st August. In between, from 1st to 8th, if something has happened, it is covered. Meanwhile, the bill of lading, they have shipped on board 1st August 2007. right? So is it covered under the insurance policy? Is it covered under the insurance policy? Is it covered? It is covered. It is covered, right? Insurance coverage expressed in the LC as percentage of goods, invoices, value, right? Normally, insurance coverage, we ask for 110% of CIF value. 110% of CIF value. We always keep a provision. Is deemed to be minimum coverage required. 110% of CIF value is the minimum coverage. Okay. LC condition, insurance required for 110% of invoice value. That's the LC requirement. That's the minimum coverage required. The invoice value is CIF value US dollars 100,000. So if the insurance policy is for $120,000, is it acceptable? It is acceptable because minimum is 110%. Anything over that will be a bonus to the bank. Right? Therefore, it is acceptable. Minimum 110% of CIF or CIP value if LC does not indicate insurance coverage required. If the insurance coverage is required, if they are not specifically mentioned, then 110 is the default value. If CIF or CIP value cannot be determined from documents, take the greater of the following. Amount for which honor or negotiation is requested or gross invoice value of the goods. Right? Risk covered at least place of taking in charge of the shipment and up to the place of discharge of final destination as stated in the LC. If the LC says port to port, then from Colombo port to Liverpool port in UK. If the LC says warehouse to warehouse, then warehouse in Colombo, Norelia to Middlesex in UK. Okay. Otherwise, in a transport, this international trade operations, we have to get the seller has to get an additional insurance coverage from Norelia to Colombo, and then the buyer has to take additional coverage from Liverpool, Port of Liverpool to Middlesex. Right? It's like that. So normally we put either port to port or warehouse to warehouse. LC should state type of insurance required and additional risk to be covered. Right? If LC uses imprecise terms such as usual risk or customer risk, bank will accept insurance document without regard to any risk not covered. Right? If LC uses imprecise terms such as usual risk or customer risk, bank will accept insurance documents without regard to any risk not covered. Right? If LC requires insurance against all risk, bank will accept insurance document containing any all risk notation or clause. Normally, we have to have, when you're opening LCs, normally we ask for all risk. All risk means cargo clause A. Cargo clause A, covering all risks. Right? In the new Incoterms 2020, I think I have discussed this with you. When it's under CIF, either you can have cargo clause A, all risk covered, or you can have even cargo clause B or C, it is acceptable if the bank is ready to accept it. But if the Incoterm CIP, any mode of transport, CIP, then cargo clause A is a must. Is a must. P එකේ අපි ගන්නේ නැහැ. Cargo clause B and C ගන්නේ නැහැ. That's a difference, right? Insurance documents may contain reference to any exclusion clause, right? Maintain reference to any exclusion clause. All of a sudden, heavy rain. What about your area? Rain in the net.
It's about
About to rain.
About
Rain and finish.
Yeah, heavy rain. Right. Contain reference to any exclusion clause. Exclusion clauses කියන්නේ සම්බන්ධ මේ article 28 එකක් කරලා බලන්න. Article 28I. Article 28I is very clearly mentioned. An insurance document may contain reference to any exclusion clause. Exclusion clause, yani if the goods are steel, right? When goods are when steel are transported in ships, long voyage, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, right? Because of the sea breeze, there can be corrosion, there can be rust or oxidation. Anything can happen. Because ඒවට අපිට exclusion clauses දාන්න වෙනවා. Right? Then indicate that cover is subject to franchise of excess deductible. What do you mean by franchise or excess deductible? Franchise or excess deductible. Now, I will try to explain this with a small example. It's easy for you to understand. First, we will take franchise. Right? Any claims within the franchise amount will not be paid. Right? All that will be honored. All that will be honored. Now, franchise amount again, any claims within the franchise amount will not be paid. Anything over that will be paid. So sometimes when we prepare insurance certificates or insurance policies, even in our own vehicle insurance, I have seen this. Right? Even my insurance is fully insured, but I have a franchise clause. Franchise clause of $10,000. එතකොට මට මේ sorry 10,000 rupees. 10,000 rupees my franchise clause එකක් තියෙනවා. That means any damages, any accident damages up to 10,000 will not be paid. So my insurance premium is not also, right? So I am prepared to take that risk. Anything 10,000 less than 10,000 කියන්නේ scratch එකක් වගේනේ. ඒතන මට මම බලන්නේ මේ ඒ part එකක් මට මේ කරන්න ගියොත් එහෙම මට estimate එක එන්නේ 7,500 8,000 වලින් මට ඒක මේ කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Then if I am going to claim that money, then I'm going to claim I'm going to lose my no claim bonus. එකක් වෙනව නේද? මම පිරිමි ළමයි නම් ගොඩක් දන්නවා මේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ vehicles වල අපි ගත්තාම. ඉතින් මම කියනවා right සමහර අය කියනවා 5,000 up to 5,000 franchise. So if the damage is 4,000 rupees, your claim will not be entertained. But if your damage is 15,000 rupees, then will they pay 15,000 now? Deduct the franchise amount 5,000 and will they pay 15,000 or 10,000?
15,000.
15,000. They will pay entire 15,000. They will pay entire 15,000. Right? Anything over the franchise amount is they will pay entire 15,000.
Sir, excuse sir.
Yeah.
Sir, excuse sir. Can you explain that from the beginning, sir? Due to a signal failure, I couldn't.
Okay.
Capture.
Who is that? Is
Malik. Malik, sir.
Malik, now in the LC, now Malik, you came up with a good point. These days, I think everybody are experiencing some signal issue, no? Even I am having.
Yeah.
Everybody. I think throughout the country, we have a signal issue. Now, if the LC says subject to franchise, now we determine the franchise amount. Franchise amount is, if you say US dollars 5,000 is a franchise amount, right? So any damages up to US dollars 5,000, then the claims will not be entertained. Any claims over that franchise amount, it will be paid. If the claim is for $15,000, they will pay the full amount, and 15,000 they will pay. Is it clear, Malik? Malik, is it clear? Hello? Hello? Have I lost him
So
again?
I think he's lost in signal.
Lost again, right? Then the other thing is excess deductible. Excess deductible. Now franchise is right there. I think ඔගොල්ලෝ දැන් notes වල ලියා ගන්න. ටට්ටක් ගාලා මම කියනේවා ලියන්න. මේ franchise 5,000 up to 5,000 not paid. Anything over will be paid. If the claim is 4,000 not paid. If the claim is 15,000, will pay entire 15,000. Okay, short notes. Then excess deductible. The MEVA exams were NEVA. What do you mean by franchise or excess deductible? Then you have to explain, right? Excess deductible can if the sum assured is US dollars 10,000. Sum assured is US dollars 10,000. 10% excess deductible. 10% excess deductible. 10% excess deductible. Take the NA clause. The loss incurred is 1,500. Sum assured 10,000. 10% excess deductible. What is the 10% of 1,000? 10,000?
1,000.
1,000. 1,000 is the 10% of that. Now the damage came to, the loss incurred came to US dollars 1,500. US dollars 1,500. How much you will get?
Only 500,000.
Only 500,000. Very good. Who gave that answer?
Ajit.
Ajit. Others, is it clear? Right? Because 10% excess deductible. Okay. The claims payable will be only US dollars 500. Right? Because up to 1,000 up to give one. Right. Article 29, extension of expiry date or last date for presentation. Expiry of extension. Extension of expiry date or last date for presentation. Expiry date or last date for presentation falls on a day the bank is closed for reasons other than force majeure. Right? Force majeure can be beyond our control. Then, for example, last week we had travel restrictions, but the banks were open. Next week, if they impose curfew, the banks will be closed. Right? In that case, it will be extended to the first following banking day. The next week, curfew kela. Right? Then the value date extended on Iga week Monday, first following banking day. Clear? Right. Nominated bank must provide the issuing bank or confirming bank with a statement that presentation was made within the time limits extended. Got it? Okay. Latest date for shipment will not be extended. Very important. The extension of expiry date or last date for presentation will not apply to shipment days. Even if you are having curfew, island-wide curfew, do you know that port is working? Ports are working. Saturday, Sunday, Vesak, Christmas, they are working. Right? Shipment date that you can't extend. Okay? Article 30. Tolerance in credit amount, quantity and unit prices. Right? Words about or approximately. If you use about 10,000 items, approximately 10,000 items, used in conjunction with credit amount or approximately 10,000 rupees, approximately $10,000, approximate about $10,000, conjunction with credit amount, credit amount, quantity or unit prices, are to be construed as allowing a tolerance not to exceed 10% more or 10% less, plus or minus 10% plus or minus tolerance, it is approved. If you say about about $10,000, even $9,000 is acceptable, even $11,000 is acceptable. Is it clear for you? That will apply for credit amount, quantity or unit prices. I have put this like this because when you read this article, it is a little bit difficult for you to understand. Quantity, not in terms of stipulated number of packing units or individual items, has a tolerance not to exceed 5% more or 5% less. Right? Individual items now are paying 5% plus or minus. Providing credit amount is not overdrawn. Credit amount is $10,000. is fixed. Within that, we say 1,000 wristwatches, 1,000 wristwatches, right? 1,000 wristwatches. Then පටවන කාලේ වෙනකොට මේකේ පොඩි price එක අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. අඩු වෙන්න පුළුවන්, price එක වැඩි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Then between the buyer and the seller, they have agreed, okay, if the prices have come down in Switzerland, so they will send you more watches. But the price is $10,000. LC value is $10,000. Within that value, you can keep a tolerance of the number of items. Earlier it was 1,000. Now it is 5% more or less. 5%. 5% of 1,000. 5% 1,000. And if you now 50 watches, within the under or 50 watches, within the under. You got it? Right? LC amount again, order back. Even when partial shipment is not allowed, a tolerance not to exceed 5% less than the credit amount is allowed. Right? Provided the quantity is shipped in full and any unit price is not reduced. Unit price is reduced, the quantity of full. A tolerance not to exceed 5% less than the credit amount is allowed. Right? Then partial drawings or shipments. Partial drawings or shipments. Partial drawings or shipments are not allowed. Article 31. Right? Presentation of multiple sets of transport documents. Multiple sets of transport documents evidencing shipment on the same means of conveyance. For example, vessel or aircraft from different ports and places on different dates and for the same journey to the same destination, they are not partial shipments. Right? Discuss in detail. I am going to discuss when we are discussing the ISBP. When we are discussing the ISBP, I am going to discuss this partial shipments again with you. But for the sake of having some idea, right? Try to get the idea. You can read this, right? Take latest of the shipment dates as date of shipment, August 9 in the above example. There are port A, the same vessel, same means of conveyance, the same vessel. Port A, on August 5th, they will load some goods from port A and you get a BLA. Now the goods are sailing and then they reach port B on August 7. Again, there are some shipments. Come customer ekam LC ke, right? Ekadi load karna, tab BLA keno. Then August 9th, port C, they load some other thing. Make hurry Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman ports, ports me wage thamai yanne. Lankaවට එන්න ඉස්සලා ඒ තැන් තුනකින් ඒගොල්ලෝ ලෝඩ් කරගන්නවා. දැන් මේකේ latest shipment date එක. The latest shipment date we treat it as August 9th. Right? Now you have to think very carefully. In the LC, if the latest shipment date is August 2nd, August 2nd කියලා තියෙන්නේ. එතන අපි first shipment එක ගන්නේ August 1st වල. එතකොට within that date is okay. එමනම් ඔයගොල්ලෝ හිතනවා ඒක හරියි කියලා. ඒක හරි. ඊගොල්ලෝ second එක August 7th. එහෙනම් late shipment කියලා ගන්නවා. නෑ. දැන් මේකේ late shipment එන්නේ කවද්ද? August 9. August අර ඔක්කොම આવත් August 9th වල තමයි අන්තිම shipment එක ගන්නෙ. අන්න එතනින් තමයි port D එකට voyage එක එන්නේ. right? What we have loaded under BL A, B, and C is the LC quantity. Is it clear for you? Maybe the diagram that come over easy to understand, right? Read the article 31 and then try to make a partial shipment there. Make a partial shipment there. And it's still like a partial shipment, it is not a partial shipment. Same vessel you are loading, same vessel. Now here, presentation of multiple sets of transport documents evidencing shipment on more than one means of conveyance within the same mode of transport. Shipment by truck will be regarded as partial shipments. If it is same means of transport, same mode of transport, but different vessels, different shipments will treat it as partial shipment. The one truck A, August 1st, truck A ka geno destination eකට. Truck B එකනොත් තව load එකක් පටවනවා. Truck C එකනොත් load එකක් පටවනවා. Right? මේ තුනම destination D එකට එනවා. So what you have loaded from loaded in truck A, B, and C, the total will come to LCA quantity, but it's a partial shipment. The make a ship lorry may truck consignment අනික තව එකක් එහෙම නෙමෙයි. එකම C එකේ නම් BLs තුනක් එනවා මෙතනට. BLs තුනක් එනවා. So we treat it as partial shipment. Right? Article 32 is very important. Good questions about installment drawings or shipment. Any installment not drawn or shipped, credit ceases to be available. Credit ceases to be available. Right? Make a good past papers Article 33, hours of presentation. Banks have no obligation to accept presentation outside of its banking hours. Very important. Our banking hours means 9 to 4 o'clock. 9 to 4 o'clock. So if the customer submit the documents at 6 o'clock, we have no obligation to accept it. I think good banks 6 නෙමේ 4ට RMs accept කරලා අපිට ගෙනල්ලා දෙනවා ට්‍රේඩ් එකට අනේ කොහමද මේක අද යවලා දාන්න කියලා. එහෙම නේද වෙන්නේ? මම ආන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. මම කාගෙන් නම් වලින් ආන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඕකම තමයි බැංකුවල වෙන්නේ. Right? Article 34, disclaimer on effectiveness of document. Banks are not liable or responsible for any fraudulent documents or the accuracy and representation of any documentation. Banks are not liable for fraudulent documents. අපි දන්නේ නැහැ. අපි දැනගෙන අපි fraud දෙයක් කියලා අපිට අපි හවුලේ කළයි කියලා දෙනවා නම් that's a different thing. Article 35, disclaimer on මේ ඔක්කොම disclaimer වෙන්නේ මේ දැන් මේ සේරම වෙන disclaimer. Article 33 and 34, disclaimer on effectiveness. We got Article 35, disclaimer on transmission and translation. Right? Give me 1 minute. Hello. Yeah. Yeah. No, even now I'm in a lecture. I have got the mail. I will fill it and forward it to you by tomorrow also. Right? Okay. When active, when acting in accordance with instructions or one own initiative, banks are not liable or responsible for any loss in transit, mutilation, or other errors arising in the transmission of any messages or delivery of letters or documents. Banks will not liable. They have a disclaimer, right? What about URC findable to questions? Have you done that? I have given some homework. Have you done that?
Partly done.
Partly done. When? That's a partial shipment.
Yes, yes.
Partial shipment. Really, the full shipment is going to get received.
By next week, sir?
Yeah, next week, I hope. Right? I hope. Right.
It's really tricky one, na?
Okay.
The
Next week,
case studies are very tricky.
very tricky, yeah. And wait, I'm waiting for that, and then I'll give you another 25 case studies on UCP 600. Then you will be thorough. ඒක කරන්න ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේ article 35 එකේ දෙන question එක මට ඒක මතක් වුණේ. Article 35 එකේ question එක මම දීලා දුන්නා. Right? Where DIT is not easy. You have to study. You have to use your brain, right? Article 35 එකේ මම question එක දීලා දෙනවා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට වගේ කෙනෙක්වත් මම කළේ නැහැ. පිට කලින් ආයේ. ඒකෙන්ද මේ you're lucky, you guys, but do it. Otherwise, very difficult. Exam එකේදී ඔයගොල්ලෝ හිර වෙනවා. මම article 32 වලට question එක දීලා ඇති, article 35 වලට දීලා ඇති. ඔක්කොම දීලා තියෙනවා. article 14 එකේ ගොඩාක් තියෙනවා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කරනකොට තේරෙයි. Compliant documents lost in transit between nominated bank and the issuing confirming bank, or confirming bank and issuing bank. Issuing or confirming bank must honor or negotiate or reimburse lost in transit. Make ICC opinion like issuing or confirming bank must honor lost in transit. Make at mandila case study. Now I'm giving you clues. Then one day see එක කරනකොට මේක වෙනවා. Right? If you have proved that you have nominated, you have negotiated the documents, then the issuing bank has to pay. But Malaysian Airlines, if you have sent the documents by courier through Malaysian Airlines, plane crash, all documents washed, who is responsible? Right? This is Article 35. Issuing or confirming bank must honor or negotiate or reimburse. Banks are not obligated to translate and may transmit credit terms without translating them. Article 36, force measure. Banks will not honor or negotiate under a credit that expired during the interruption of its business, which is not under its control. Right? Article 37, disclaimer for acts of an instructed party. Right? Issuing bank or advising bank, then Article 34 is the disclaimer. Issuing bank or advising bank not liable for liable or responsible for instructions not carried by another bank. Bank instructing another bank to perform services is liable for that bank's charges. bank instructing another bank to perform services is liable for that bank's charges. If the customer is not paying, the bank has to pay. Issuing bank is liable for charges that cannot be collected or deducted from the receipts. Right? Applicant is bound by and liable to identify a bank against all obligations and responsibilities imposed by foreign laws and usages. LCO amendment should not stipulate that advising to beneficiary is conditional upon the receipt by advising bank or second advising bank of its charges. Make a karanna hoda naha. When you are advising a LC or amendment, you say that this will be they put a condition that you have to collect the charges. Otherwise, it is not operative instrument. We should not do it. Unacceptable clause, notwithstanding sub-article 37C, the advising bank must collect their advising fee prior to advising the credit to the beneficiary. The beneficiary, you have received a LC or LC. So the beneficiary will come. Okay, I will collect the LC. No, first you must pay. He will say, I will pay you later. No, otherwise I will not give. Right? ඒ වගේ කරන්න බෑ. 37 sub-article 37C එක මොකක්ද එන්නේ? A bank instructing another bank to perform services is liable for any commission fee. Now, if the issuing bank is asking the advising bank to advise LC, issuing bank is liable for commission and other charges if the customer has not paid. The මේගොල්ලෝ කියනවා ඒක නොදාගෙන notwithstanding sub-article 37C, advising bank has to collect. Otherwise, we will not pay. You can't do like that, right? Don't put things like that. Article 38, transferable credits. I'm not going to discuss that with you because I have discussed in detail with you guys. But for your easy references, I have given some diagrams, right? And which you can study and learn because I have discussed the entire article with you, isn't it? Ajit, mama ugalada discuss kala denawa neda meka? Article 38 in detail, yes, right? Habai meka ugalanta isi flow ekak wenawa. Taniyen පාඩම් කරගත්ත හැකි. Second beneficiary's documents mum blue වලින් දාලා තියෙනවා. Second beneficiary will send the documents to transferring bank, right? Then the transferring bank will ask the first beneficiary to replace the draft and the invoice in red. After that, transferring bank will send the documents. After substitution, they will send the documents to issuing bank. Okay, right. Mega Blanda. Discuss Article 39. Assignment of proceeds. What do you mean by assignment of proceeds? Right? Assignment of proceeds means Article 39. A lot of people are not touching this article. A lot of what do you call this? Lecturers also. Assignment of proceeds, Article 39, I will read. The fact that a credit is not stated to be transferable shall not affect the right of the beneficiary to assign any proceeds to which is which it may be or may become entitled under the credit in accordance with the provisions of applicable law. This article relates only to the assignment of proceeds and not to the assignment of the right to perform under the credit. Now, in the transferable LC, you are transferring the LC to another party, second beneficiary, and second beneficiary has to perform under that LC. They have to perform under that LC. But assignment of proceeds is different thing. Now, when the beneficiary receives the money, before receiving the money, he can give instructions to his bank. Okay, once you receive this money from the issuing bank, I am assigning 25% of the money received from the proceeds received from the issuing bank to Mr. XYZ. XYZ is the one, or that company is the company that they have provided the raw materials for this thing, but they have not performed any transactions under this LC. They have not performed anything, but they have to be paid. So the beneficiary has given an undertaking to XYZ. Okay, once I receive the money, you will get the money direct from my bank. It's a good assurance, right? That is assignment of proceeds. Normally, assignment of proceeds will be governed by national law, determines the extent and legal effects of an assignment of proceeds under a DC. This is a very, very tricky area. So the national law determines the extent and the legal effects. It is possible in some cases for the beneficiary, the assignor, he is the one who assigned the thing, assignor, to ask the nominated bank or issuing bank to pay part of the proceeds that are due to his own supplier, assignee. That is what is happening. This request is worded in the form of an irrevocable instruction. Later he can't change. It's an irrevocable instruction. Bank will inform the assignee. Bank will inform the assignee in writing this assignment, referred to as acknowledgement of an assignment of proceeds. The article right? The bank will inform the assignee in writing this assignment, referred to as the acknowledgement of an assignment of proceeds. The instructions of the beneficiary is also acknowledged. First, beneficiary has to give instructions to the issuing bank or his nominated bank, right? And then they will inform the assignee, and then the instruction of the beneficiary is also acknowledged, and based on that, they will inform the assignee, right? The bank should not undertake any payment or guarantee obligations towards such assignee. Bank acts only as an agent. Very important point. When we assign proceeds, bank is not giving any payment guarantee or payment guarantee. If you receive the money, then we will pay, like collection. So the bank acts only as an agent, right? Assignment of proceeds, they are assignee. Pitting pina and back. Right? The assignee does not receive the same sort of payment security as to the beneficiary of a DC or transferred credit. Only if the beneficiary is making a compliant documents, the assignee will get the proceeds, right? Article 39 covers assignment of proceeds. It does not grant a right to the assignee to perform under the credit, that is to present documents. You can't ask assignee to present documents or anything. That is not assignment, right? Article 39 covers assignment of proceeds. It does not grant any right to the assignee to perform under that. Clear? So I think I have discussed all the 39 articles except for 38, which I have discussed earlier. And now it is very clear that I am clear, I am happy that you people should have a better understanding of UCP 600 than URC 522, better than the earlier batches, right? But having said that, just listening to my lectures, just listening to me is not going to be benefited. You have to study. Now it is up to you to save this presentation and either print or if you can view in your laptops, right? Open it and then read the article by article and then see, study the notes I have given for each reference, right? Okay, I think it's enough for today. There's no time to start a new topic, right? So next week I'm going to start a new topic, but I want you guys to finish the URC 522 questions, right? And then one day we will discuss those things. At least 5 questions each I'm going to discuss. And next week I'll give you case studies on UCP 600. Again, you will get you have to study and then you can write a good answer covering all the UCP articles, right? Okay. Any questions on this presentation? Any questions? Any gray areas?
Sir, this Article 39, can you explain that a bit again? Assignment of proceeds?
Yeah, assignment of proceeds means when an exporter, who is a question, who asked that question?
Malik, sir.
Malik. Malik, now your customer is a with due respect to Sumudu, all the singer again, right? Your customer is singer, they are exporting, export customer. But the singer has got some services from some other company, ABC company, to finish these goods. So they have to pay ABC company. So Singer has given an undertaking to ABC company through Singer's bankers to ABC company's bankers, right? That irrevocable undertaking that once we receive the proceeds, we will pay you either $25,000 or 10% of the proceeds, or whatever, according to the agreement between the beneficiary and the assignee, assignee and the assignee. Clear? And it is only once we receive the funds, we will pay. Other than that, the bank is not giving an undertaking, a payment undertaking to ABC company. What they say is, if we receive the money, we will pay you. Or once we receive the money, we will pay you. Is it clear?
Okay,
simple as that, right? That ABC company doesn't want to, or they don't have any right to perform under the credit. අරයට කියන්න බෑ බෙනිෆිෂරි කියන්න බෑ සයි නෝට කියන්න බෑ මෙයා මේ ඩොකියුමන්ට්ස් ටිකක් දෙන්න ඕන එයා හදලා දුන්නේ නැත්නම් ඒක ඒව නෑ that is we have nothing to do with that right okay
sir.
Any more questions? No, if not, okay, we'll call it a day. Thank you very much. Then from next week, it will be from 1 to 4. Okay? Done. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Stay safe.
Good evening. Good night. I think it's a man. Okay, then. Thanks.